Stuff the philosophy. Let's go kick some butt. This is X-Men the Animated Series Retro Recap Deadly Reunions. I'm Jared. We're joined with Darren, Jonathan, and Kevin, and we're going to get started.
Okay, so wow, what a fun episode. So much going on in this one. We grew up as children, loving the battles between Professor Xavier and Magneto and Wolverine and Sabretooth, and we get them in this episode. That's pretty much the main stuff that happened. And then both Sabretooth and Magneto run away at the end to come back later, eventually. Good stuff. Julie's kind of useless too. All right, there, I'm done.
Awesome. Well, Darren, hit us up with your most valuable experience.
Oh wow. Obviously, so the whole, I guess, like, it comes back to one of those tales of two sagas. I had to look at my notes there just to clarify, but I think overall for me it was seeing Wolverine and Sabretooth finally meet for the first time. That was my moment. Well, not finally, I mean, for the first time, silly me, but for us seeing them to meet for the first time, that was really, really cool. Sabretooth was always an interesting character. I remember when I was growing up, I loved the fact that, like, Wolverine had his own personalized villain on the show, which was cool. So, yeah, that was a big moment for me.
Heck yeah. I would say that when it comes to the most valuable experience for this episode, I think it's a tie. I think, first of all, it's Charles Xavier's chair literally like lifting up and going up and over the desk rather than just going around it. I thought to myself, like, that's so odd and something you would never see in a live action movie. So I thought that was interesting and kind of funny. And also, I thought the opening sequence with whenever Charles merged with Sabretooth and kind of, fought his inner demons for him, I thought that was a very well done process. And they kind of dabbled with that in X-Men Apocalypse, the live action film that came out, whenever that was 5-6 years ago. They dabbled in that a bit when it came to Apocalypse or Xavier going into Apocalypse's mind, but it wasn't nearly as coolly done as I thought this Sabretooth sequence was. So that's my two most valuable experiences.
Yeah, I have two quick ones also. One, this is an animation thing. I loved the way they showed the camera flashes on Senator Kelly in the press conference. I just thought that animation was great. I really, really loved it. Never really appreciated it before. I thought that was great. And then this one's kind of a joke, but also serious. I love how Sabretooth sounds like Macho Man Randy Savage. That cracked me up. I never picked that up as a kid, but whoever that actor is completely doing a Macho Man impression. It's great.
I never noticed that before, but I see what you're saying. It's slightly less intense Macho Man, but it's there. I get it. Yeah.
He's not doing the ooh man at the beginning, but he's definitely doing one. Yeah.
Well, so my most valuable experience is the same as Jonathan's. I think the intro of this episode just blew away the rest of the episode. How do you compete with that intro? We've got him like on the astral plane, and he goes inside his jail, and then the humans are attacking him, changing to monsters, and Xavier merges with them, and we get a bald Xavier with some crazy sideburns. Yes. Like, wow. And then Sabretooth leaves, and Professor X battles alone. Like, it was just, I mean, as a kid, as a grown man, that was just an awesome way to present that. I thought they nailed that. Yeah. But with most valuable, experiences, there are excruciating experiences too. So Darren, kick us off with what was kind of the roughest part of this episode for you.
Look, guys, I know she's easy prey at this point, but I gotta tie in. So, like, hold on. I don't get this. Well, it's maybe not necessarily her, but the placement of her in this particular scene. When it's like, I quote, Professor X, as the X-Men are leaving Jubilee, of all people, to watch Sabretooth. Be careful, even though he's shackled, he could still be dangerous. I mean, look what happens. Thank goodness Wolverine didn't stray too far. So yeah, I don't come on. I mean, I get it, like, you got to make your show and stuff, but really, you pick Jubilee. I mean, Sabretooth could have had his hand at probably a couple of those X-Men, and it would have been way cooler to have Wolverine come in and jump on that. So that's what I got.
Yeah, for me, it's going to be, another couple things. First of all, I thought it was interesting how in this show, as opposed to the films, because you guys know me, I'm the movie guy, right? I'm the
Comic
live
book
action
cinema.
guy. And at the end of the day, I grew up watching some of these episodes. I think I had the Enter the Magneto episode on a VHS tape, which is odd because it wasn't like the first season or anything. It was just one episode. And
You
it's
got
like
it from
a random.
Pizza Hut. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I couldn't remember where I had gotten that from, if I stole it from Blockbuster. But anyway, so I did watch that one episode a lot as a kid growing up. And here and there, I would watch this on Saturday morning cartoons. But the healing factor for Wolverine was a little bit slower than the films. I wasn't a big fan of that, and it seemed like it got a little bit faster, especially as we got to season 2 in X-Men animated series. But yeah, his healing factor was slower than Molasses, and also, doesn't Magneto's helmet block out Charles's brainwaves? So I was wondering, like, how could he get through if he's got the helmet on? So that's my 2 negatives, I guess.
So I have two quick ones also. One at the very end of the episode, you see I think Magneto's on a hill and you see the background of a city. And maybe I never noticed this as a kid, but the backgrounds of the city are incredibly poorly drawn. Like it's really, really roughly drawn. It almost looks like a line drawing and somebody just colored it in. Really, really badly drawn. Like I was kind of shocked at how bad that was drawn.
Yeah.
But the other thing is as someone who works in manufacturing, I was kind of shocked at how poorly trained the employees were and how they just ran screaming. There didn't seem to be any eye wash stations. That really kind of bothered me. That seems to be against. I mean, this is prior to like Bill Clinton like initiating a lot of controls and yeah, but still, I felt there should have been more eye wash stations and those employees needed to be trained better in terms of emergencies. So
You went from them being upset about how the cities were drawn to not having enough eye wash stations drawn. All right, I got it.
Well, mine is for my girl Storm. She blasts Magneto with lightning, and he's like, "They're related. That's not going to do anything." And 2 minutes later, she's like, shoots him again with lightning. Like, girl, what are you doing? You're breaking my right there, like breaking my heart. So I don't like my girl shown like that. I guess maybe she's still learning how life works. I don't know, but that was silly. Now we got to rate this show. So each episode, as you've seen in the past episodes, each episode gets a rating of how many X's we're going to give it. 10 X's is we just can't get enough of the episode, and 1 X is wow. This seems like something Marvel would make today. So we're gonna go ahead and rate this episode with X's. So Darren, kick us off.
Yeah, so on this one, I'm gonna have to go, and I've discussed this before. Like when they bring in the cameos, like I'm a big fan. The score gets a little bit higher just because of the fact of how much. I mean, that was my main introduction to the X-Men side cameo characters. I mean, I saw them in the comics, but to actually see like Colossus, Archangel, et cetera, pop up, cool. So I'll go with 9. I'm gonna give this one a 9. That's right.
Whoa.
Oh,
Man,
don't worry. They won't all go like that.
Okay, so I'm trying to tread as lightly as possible and still pay respects to the show because I know that you guys are mega fans of it. Like I said, and I get this because I grew up watching Superman 4 over and over again, and it's an awful movie. Most people without mental issues hate that film. But that's just something I love because it has a special place in my heart, just like this for you guys. But I gotta say, guys, I sat down and watched the whole first season and the whole second season of this show, and there were several episodes that were really tough to watch, and this was one of them for me. I thought it was a bland backdrop, the chemical factory, and I felt like they spent too much time there with a whole lot of nothing happening, like Jared kind of alluded to with Storm, like trying to electrocute Magneto twice. And honestly, the conclusion of this was less satisfying than Batman versus Superman. So I give it 3 out of 10 X's.
Jared, it'll be fine.
Wow.
All right, Kevin, octophobic.
All right. So for me, I think it's a big nostalgia factor.
Absolutely.
I am one of
What
those
we got?
guys that grew up watching this. This was one of those episodes I remember on reruns multiple time. So this one, it probably has a soft spot in my heart. Jonathan's probably right, but Aaron's
Yeah.
probably right. I'm going to give it a 7 though, 7 out of 10.
Ooh.
All right. So we got a 7, so we're up to 19. For me, so this is the 4th episode in the show. We're still kind of laying the groundwork and getting things going. I think that it had some great beats with the Sabretooth versus Professor X. It had fleshing out the team, making a little team of Cyclops, Rogue, and Storm go after Magneto, who was very much presented like a villain of the week. I'll give that to Jonathan. Like, oh, just some random chemical plant. He's on his computer screen trying to figure out what place I'm going to attack next. Definitely, takes a couple down for that. We get to see a little bit more about Sabretooth, and even though Jubilee isn't handled very well, we do kind of get to see some motivations behind why she does what she does in her relationship building with Wolverine. I think I'm with Kevin a little bit in that there is a nostalgia factor, and also a rewatchability is kind of how I grade with my X's. Is could I go back and watch this again and again and again, and how many times could I do that? So I'm going to give it 8 X's out of 10 X's, and so that will give it 27 X's.
Can I add one thing real quick before we finish? Because I forgot to bring this up. I love the way that they presented Cyclops' powers when Rogue took them away. How it was knocking her back, and she wasn't able to control it even physically. Like it was just knocking her around while also she was blowing everything up. I think for me, like that was another thing about this episode I loved is I think that's a really good representation of his powers. So just
But
wanted
she
to add
also
that real quick.
kept her eyes open for like 20 seconds straight. She was like,
Oh, what?
what do I do? It's like, you know how his powers work. You've been with this man for years now, probably at this point. Like, just close your eyes.
Yeah,
What are you doing?
And then, like, one of
yeah, way too
those-
long, but I still like the representation. I
Like-
still like how it showed it. Yeah.
Oh God, what do I do?
And then in one of the last scenes, like where she's like finally like they're all realizing like, oh, everything's getting back to normal, and she's like, well, I better check to see if I can blow up the whole infirmary here with everybody in it. And she goes, oh, come on.
But that
All right.
infirmary also has the best Kirk machine ever. So
Oh yeah, good point. Yeah, Storm and Cyclops were living the dream on that stuff.
So Deadly Reunions gets 27 X's. Until next time, make yours the M6P.